Stage 2 of VCT CN officially kicks off on the 3rd of July, and based off of Stage 1, we have been promised a very fierce Stage 2. From meta swings to new map pools, from roster changes to surprise performers, from new kings of the region to fallen lords looking to restore the crown, it can be hard to know where to begin. My name is Veggie, and I'm going to try and guide you through a recap of Stage number 1 and everything that we can expect going into Stage 2.
标配被锁定了，跳投，这个隔断也只能够拖很多的回防时间，闪光再打，哇！这把辽卷把点后完成清剿的情况之下，那个暗眼也导致对方无法出烟，
直接出烟来了，小开
别的点去转了 ，C 点要硬打，C 点有藏人，回身的一枪，但是落定在高台的位置，连点两个，哇！这是什么？切除标配，转瞬之间的4杀。
完了，碎片溢出效果怎么样？皮蛋没有被清掉，而且 Oten 反穿掉了 CB，
想硬拆包是来不及的。
对他们即便不能拿下，但是这个筑基技能得尽可能的去骗一骗。无敌莎莎直接出来了，时间又被拖了10秒多。国王落地是直接被 Oten 给打掉了 ，Oten 同样直接给到一个快递，先打了一个，把 life 给收掉。但阿阳在另外一边也是拿到了双杀 ，CB 又是他这个口子拿到了
点里了，但是 BRG 没有人站在点里，虽然是有长枪的掩护，有人先去拉枪线，但是效果一般啊！王浩哲把跳台接完了，
幻影魅力时刻，近距离的扫，
不能够让对面突破到点内，但 CB 先秒掉了 life。
海豹全场又出动了，海豹全场能不能炸掉这个全民封锁呢？在方帕这个视线里面，第一时间也不太确定，第二时间发现没有。
对，而且精准投放地身也没有过来 ，CB 已经4杀了 ，CB 直接拿到了 Ace， 在第2周 CB 就拥有非常完美的表现，而在这一周他依旧延续了他的火热。
It's a retake situation on A, one of the most historically hardest sites to retake, and now not only that, it's Russia in a 1 versus 4. Has to do absolutely everything and will be able to do nothing but lose and watch this G-Li Gaming squad celebrate.
VCT Gaming are your Stage 1 Valorant China champions. The first team not named Edward Gaming to do this. A momentous occasion for this side. What a better place to start than at the very end. The biggest surprise of the competition coming at the hands of VCT Gaming, going on an almost flawless playoff run to win in the grand finals, only dropping that one map to Billy Gaming. This team came up through Ascensions recently and have already managed to get themselves a trophy, looking to dethrone that EDG, who are the only team in China to have recently and ever held a trophy. Now, the teams that they beat in the playoffs of Nova, Edward Gaming, Wolves and Billy. It's absolutely worth noting that this is only the second Ascension team that's been able to get their hands on a trophy. G2/The Guard being the first to do that in the Americas region, but it's not been done in Pacific and it's not been done in EMEA either. So it's a huge triumph for this team. And of course, speaking of EDG, we have to mention the fact that they never made the international event. They didn't make it to Masters Toronto. They failed to finish in the top 3 during the playoffs. The kind of internal crumble that happened alongside Simon left the team a little bit shook and lacking a real identity when it came to making their way through that lower bracket playoff runs, which they've always done historically so well. But this time, they just didn't have it in them to get through to that. But with a roster change recently announced, bringing in HMFI, with a little bit of a rebrand on the name, they definitely have an opportunity to rebound and shock a lot of teams that maybe think that the supremacy of EDG is no longer there. I wouldn't be so fast to count them out. The gap between the skill level across the region really has shrunk from where it has historically been and kind of perceived to be. The number of teams in contention for playoffs rose, the games were closer every single time, and you can see that just by looking at Group Alpha and Omega. With Alpha specifically, the teams were only split by 1 win. With Tyloo, the only real team that were lacking any real threat down at the bottom. Omega, on the other hand, were slightly different, with no real threat provided by DGG and All Gamers, who, I mean, they failed to win a game in the entire first stage. Trace will be one of the teams disappointed to have not pushed themselves further into the playoffs. Having finished as the 4th seed, they couldn't afford any losses in the lower bracket, and unfortunately the lower round 2 was as far as they would go, losing out to Billy Gaming, the eventual 2nd place team. They would have hoped to got themselves further, but unfortunately the talented roster that they have will have to hope and wait for revenge on Stage 2. But with players such as Kai in the prime spot on that flash play duelist, and Hebe and Lua King still around, this is a team that I'd expect to be pushing deep into the playoffs in Stage 2 and really looking to force out a team like XLG or BLG to drop out of the international contention and really make this roster push and go to work. The only issue that I could really see coming through would be utilising the Tejo specialist that they have of Midi into a different role and hope that he can still perform to the same level, if not even higher. Since Stage 1 concluded, we got to see Masters Toronto, where Shilai Gaming failed to adapt to the new meta change as well as some internal roster issues just before Masters begun. They really kind of failed to take advantage of that Stage 1 win and confidence that they would have got. However, with Noman being recently added to the roster, a new hope has definitely dawned for this team. Wolves, on the other hand, having finished third in Stage 1, came into Toronto simply looking to gain some experience on the stage, and they got a lot more experience than they bargained for. A stunning run for the Ages, finishing off third due to what can only be described as the Heretics curse. They will be flying with confidence coming into Stage 2. Players such as Sufat BB seeming to be fully in their own element on that stage sets a really good standing for Stage 2, and I cannot wait to see what they offer. Now, speaking of the new meta, map pool and everything that comes alongside of that, China as a region will be looking to reset and find a new foot. The region as a whole boasted a 71% Tejo pick rate compared to Toronto, where Tejo only seen a 4%. Looking deeper into this, I would see Stage 2 having a higher Neon pick rate, looking back at kind of last year's China pick rates as well as the kickoff. I think also we should see Sova making a resurgence despite the recent changes to this agent. Sova's pick rate was 47% at kickoff, and then once Tejo got introduced, it got pushed all the way back down to 14%. Alongside this, obviously Breach being Tejo's brother in arms should allow for someone like KO to get picked up a lot more as well. So it really comes down to how these Chinese teams can adapt to this. Push into Stage 2. The switch of the seeds in the group stages has happened much like every other region, and Group Omega appears to be the most interesting group. All gamers having made large roster and some coaching staffs move after CN Evolution, they may look to provide a few upsets, but I won't be placing them into the playoffs. Shilai Gaming and Dragon Ranger Gaming alongside Wolves should be cemented as playoff contenders, but Nova and FPX will be fighting for that 4th spot, if not trying to steal a spot higher from one of the aforementioned teams. FPX, bringing back Berlin after burying the issues the rosters have previously had, will want to get back to the international stage where they've entertained audience worldwide during their run at Shanghai. Group Alpha on the other side consisting of Edward Gaming, Billy Gaming, Titan Esports, Trace, GDG and Tylo. Looking at the past form and performances of both GDG and Tylo, I think they'll be competing to not have the bottom place in this group, and as much as I would like to see a marked improvement from Stage 1, I think all 4 teams above them, having come in previously making the playoffs and have showed their ability to navigate through tricky matches, should have more than what it takes to at least get into the playoffs. As we do get through the playoffs, the picture will be a lot more clear on the direction of which team has kind of understood the new assignment and prepared the strongest for this meta swing. But you know what, if China has taught us anything over the last year, is they're capable of adjusting quickly and not afraid to try new things. I certainly look forward to seeing Corrode being tested a lot more on the big stages, and a lot more Whaley gameplay coming out, as we did see this agent coming through in Stage 1. I think Stage 2 is where we see a lot more of that coming in, especially with the recent changes. That's all for me today on what to expect and my expectations coming into Stage number 2. So thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe, hit that little like notification, and I will see you certainly future down the road with some summaries regarding how Stage 2 goes, and maybe some little pick'ems to go alongside it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.